Hey, what's up YouTube? This is DelVecchio, and today we are going to build this business website that you're looking at right now. And a quick background on myself, I learned WordPress about 10 years ago, and I have clients that pay me monthly to manage their website and their online marketing and advertising. And I've always used paid themes in the past, and I've settled on a particular paid theme. But what I wanted to do is take that layout that I use with a paid theme and translate it into a free theme. And even better, what I decided to do was use the pre-installed 2017 theme. So you don't even have to search for a third-party theme. You can use the one that WordPress puts out every year. And we're going to customize that to look like this business layout. Just so you know, one of the companies that I work for, I know they're generating business and revenue from their website because we track how many people submit the contact form, and they've had over 600 leads in the last 2 years. And that doesn't include people that call them, and this is just people that submit this contact form on the right-hand side of the page. Today, we're going to build this, like I said, with the bare minimum that we need using the pre-installed 2017 theme, and we're only going to use 4 plugins. And as I mentioned, we're going to show you how to implement this tracking where you can see how many people are submitting the contact form and how many people are clicking the phone number. That's a really useful feature for a local small business to determine which sources of traffic are converting to customers. And the way that we're able to do this with the 2017 theme and a minimal amount of plugins is by getting into the theme files. So if you've ever wanted to learn how to customize through the theme files, you're going to want to keep watching because we're going to get into that. How about we take a look through this website, and first I'm going to show you what the 2017 theme looks like before you make any of these adjustments. So this is the default layout where they have a big header image, and that's the first thing you'll notice that we changed, because if you have a local service company that relies on phone calls, the last thing you want is the phone number to be way down here where you have to scroll to see it. So we're going to get rid of this blog style layout, and we're going to transform it into our business theme, which looks like this, where we have our content area on the left, we have our sidebar, which has the estimate form, the quote form on every page. If we scroll down, you'll see that we have a full width testimonial section where the testimonials pop into view. There's a 3 widget area, a 3 column layout. And we finish with a call to action, to call today for a free estimate, with the phone number that has the red button which contrasts the button that goes to an inner page. So we want our call to action buttons to really stand out. And if we go to some of these other pages, you'll see that we have a gallery layout. We can click that image and go through the gallery. We also have an easy way to embed YouTube videos on your page if you have video content. And on the last page, the contact page, we're going to embed a Google map. And not only does it look good on this desktop, but it's also going to look good on mobile because we have added some mobile styles. So let me drop down to a tablet size layout, and you can see how the logo and the call to action are centered. We have our mobile navigation menu, and our free estimate form is a little bit lower down, so they do have to scroll down to get to the estimate form, but the phone number is right in view. So this is a really nice business website. Before we begin, I just want to mention that I'm going to have a blog post that has this full tutorial. It's going to include all the code if you want to copy and paste it, and I will also have an option there to download all the resources that are used, where you can download the photos, the child theme, and everything else that is used to put together this website. So if you like that tutorial, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. I'll really appreciate that. And we're going to jump right into it. So let's get started building this website. And as you probably know, the first couple of steps that you need to take to set up the website are registering the domain name and setting up web hosting. So if you haven't done that already, I highly recommend that you use HostGator.com. I've used them for every website that I've built over the past 8 to 9 years. I've only had a few minor problems. Other than that, 0 issues. And the their customer service is great. The few problems that I had, they fixed it within a matter of hours. So they're highly reliable and super affordable. You can get started, as they advertise here, as low as $3.95 a month if you pay in advance. And that's their starter option. So if you click on the web hosting button, you can go for the hatchling plan for one website. And if you want to go month to month, I'll give you a coupon code that will let you get started for 1 cent for your first month of hosting. So let me just type in a fake domain name here. I'll do mydomain12345.com. And once you click out here, it should automatically verify whether or not that's available. And it looks like it is for $15 a year. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to uncheck the privacy protection. You can add this on yourself if you want for $13 a year, but I want to go for the lowest cost to get started. And we have the package type hatchling, and the billing cycle, instead of paying for 3 years, 36 months, we're going to do 1 month at $10.95 a month. And if I go down here, uncheck all these additional services and put in my coupon code, we should see the price come down here to just the domain name plus the 1 cent for hosting. So the coupon code that you want to type in here is 1WP, as in WordPress, and hosting. So 1WP hosting, and we'll validate that, and you'll see that our price went from 26 to 16. And as I'm looking at this, this happened I think in the last video I did as well. They, for some reason, added back on this add-on site lock monitoring. I'm going to uncheck this again, and the cost comes down even further to $12.96. So they try and sneak those add-ons in there, but we don't need them to get started. So once you do this, they're going to send you account information for your cPanel, which that's where you can go in and manage your website hosting account. And I have that page open here. So I'm going to log into my cPanel. And from here, this is where we can install WordPress easily. So the first step is going to the QuickInstall section. Once you log into your cPanel, down in the Software and Services area. And on here, we can install WordPress for free. So we just click the WordPress option, and they have some paid upgrades, but we don't need them. Once again, we're just going to click Install WordPress because this is for free. And from the drop-down menu, you're going to select your domain. So for this, I have a demo domain, d2demos.com. And I would say 90% of the time when you're installing WordPress, you're going to want to do this right on your root domain. But in this case, I have a few websites installed on this domain. So I usually install new WordPress installations on a subpath. So for this one, we're using the built-in 2017 theme. And I'm going to use a plugin that's called Elementor, which you may have heard of. I know it's really popular. And actually, I found about it through my subscribers. I had never heard of it until a few months ago. So I'm just going to install this on a subpath ELE. Just keep it easy. So d2demos.com/ELE. And I'll type in my email address, ray@websiteprofitcourse.com. For the blog title, we're actually going to be building a fake remodeling website. So I'm going to call this Smith and Sons Remodeling. The admin user, I'll just use my first name, Raymond. Type that in there and just use my last initial. And we just have to click the Install WordPress button, and it's going to go through this process and give us our username and password. And I just got to exit out of this pop-up. You can either click No Thanks, I'm a web designer down here, or the exit button up here. And you can see the bar up here tells us that our install is complete. So we click the drop down to get our login URL and the username and password. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this password and log in. And once we log in, the first thing that I normally do with new installations of WordPress is delete the plugins, because you're going to find a lot of just random plugins that you might not need. I like to start from scratch and only add the bare minimum to make sure that our site's running as fast as possible. And you'll notice here I have a LastPass, which is a great password manager. if you don't want to remember your passwords but use unique passwords at every site. So I highly recommend that you check them out. But we're going to go through here, and I'm just going to say I don't need help. We're going to set all this up manually. And I'll go to the plugin section, and I'm just going to select all the plugins, deactivate them first, because sometimes you can't delete a plugin unless it's deactivated. So select all, deactivate, and then we're going to do the same thing, select all and then delete them now that they're deactivated. And this is going to allow us to start from scratch. And I think by the end of this video I'm only going to have 2 or 3 plugins. So I'm going to show you how to do a lot of this with code. We're going to access the template files. You're going to learn a lot. So let's get started here with building the website. With any theme that you use, you generally want to install a child theme for that, because what happens is if you make customizations to the theme you install without installing a child theme, if the theme developer puts out an update for that theme, it's going to overwrite everything that you did and you're going to lose all your changes. So there's an easy plugin that you can use to do this called Child Theme Configurator, and it actually makes the process a lot easier instead of doing this manually. So let's go over to the Add New part of the plugins menu, and we're going to search for this, Child Theme Configurator. And as you can see, it's got over 100,000 active installs, and that's usually what I'm looking for when I'm looking for plugins. I want to see that it's got a ton of installs and it's got 4.5 or 5-star reviews. So we can just click the Install Now button. This is going to turn to an Activate button, and we will press that. And once this is installed, they add a section down here in the Tools menu. So if we go to Tools, Child Themes, this is where we can create the child themes. So they have an easy step-by-step process here. If you have an existing theme, they're going to give you more options here, so you can potentially import your customizations and your widgets. But for this example, we're starting from scratch. So we're creating a new child theme, and our parent is going to be the 2017 theme. So we'll click the Analyze button, and we are good to go on here. The name of our theme directory is going to be 2017-child. We're going to save our styles to the primary style sheet, style.css. And the parent theme style sheet handling, we're going to leave this as is, use the WordPress style Q. And the same thing here, we can go down and customize the theme attributes. So for this one, you can, if you have a website, you can just replace it. I'm going to replace this with the website where you can actually download this child theme, which is websiteprofitcourse.com/biz. And for the author, I'll just put in my name, right, DelVecchio. And for the website, I'll use the same website here, author website, and just do the main domain without the /biz. The theme description, I'm just going to say, let's do this, because we're just going to build this. You don't really have to do any of this. The main thing is the name of the theme directory up here, which is 2017 child. So everything else here you can either leave as is or customize if you like. So for the version number, I'll just do 1.0. And this is the option where if you have any existing themes, have any existing menus or widgets, you can potentially copy them over, but we don't have to worry about that. So we're going to create our new child theme and see if we get a success message here. And it looks like we did. It's been generated successfully. So now that we have this existing, we're going to copy over a few files. They make it easy to copy theme files from your parent theme to the child theme. So if we go over to the Files tab here, we're going to end up editing 3 different theme files to get the look that we want for this remodeling website. And those are page.php, frontpage.php, And under this template parts folder, we're going to select sitebranding.php. So with these 3 files selected, we're going to choose the copy to child theme, and we're good to go with that. So I'm going to show you how to edit these files throughout this video. And now that we have this set up, we just want to make sure that we activate the child theme. So we're going to go to the Appearance Editor section. I'm sorry, the Appearance Theme section, and we have our parent theme activated, so we want to activate our 2017 child theme. So I just clicked on that. You can either click on it and activate it, or just click this Activate button right here. And we now have our child theme active, so if I go to the Appearance Editor, they're going to show the style.css of the child theme, which right now is blank. And you can see that all this was created by the child theme configurator. So before we start customizing this, I'm going to go through and edit a bunch of the settings on WordPress just to make sure that we're good to go. And I'm going to go down here into the settings section to do that. So I'll show you the general area. We're not going to edit anything here right now, but this is where you can see your URL, the site title and tagline, which we set the title. We didn't set the tagline, so by default this is going to be just another WordPress site. But as you'll see, I'm not going to show this on the website, so I'm not going to worry about changing this. The same thing with the writing section. We're not going to edit anything here, but there's a few options that you can play around with, and one of them is that if you want to post blog posts via email, they give you an option to do that. The first thing that we're going to edit here is in the reading section. So by default, the front page, our home page, is going to display our latest blog posts, but since this is a business website, we don't want that. So what we want to do is create 2 pages, a home page and a blog page, and then we're going to change this option to set that home page as our front page and to set the blog page as the default page to display the posts. So let me go into the pages area here. We have the sample page, which is automatically generated when we install WordPress. And I'm just going to publish 2 pages without any content. So I'm just going to publish a home page. And we'll click the Add New button up here. And we're going to publish the blog page. And with these 2 pages ready to go, we're going to go back to our settings reading section. And we're going to change this option. So our front page is going to be the home page. Our post page is going to be the blog page. And as you'll see, we're going to use the sample page for something else. So let me save those changes. We can go down to these other sections. There's discussion and media, which we're not going to change anything in those. But once again, if you want to review your comments, like how your comments are displayed, you can change a lot of the options in here. Same thing with the media. If you want to upload photos and have them cropped to a certain size, you can adjust the dimensions. What we want to change is in the permalink section. Now you may or may not need to change this, but by default, a lot of times the installation is on a custom structure, and I like to use postname. Postname for me is the cleanest way to display your URLs in your website, where you don't have all this extra unnecessary dates, the year, the month, all these slashes. You just want your URL / the post name. So that's kind of the way that I like to set it up. So we'll save those changes. And we can go to creating a menu. So now that we're done with the settings, we're going to want our main navigation menu. So we're going to go to the Appearance menu section and create this menu, which we'll call Main Navigation. And when we create this menu, we can drag and drop, or click the pages that we want to add here. These are your most recent. If you want to see all of them, you can add them on here. And you'll notice they have 2 options for the home page. Either one of them is going to work, but I'm just going to go home and blog. We're going to add them to the menu. And if you want to reorder them, you can drag and drop. If you want to make one a sub menu, you can drag it inward and it becomes a sub item of the top menu. For this case, we're not going to do that. We're going to do all top level menus. And there's 2 other options down here. One of them is when I create new pages, I can automatically add those pages to the menu. So I'm going to click that option. And we also can set this menu to one of two areas, either as the top menu within our theme or the social links menu. So we're going to set this to the top menu because it's our main navigation. A little bit later in this video, we're going to create a footer menu that has social media links, and that's when we're going to use this social links menu. Now that we have this set up, we'll save the menu, and we can start going through to customize the theme. So in the Appearance Customize section, every theme that you download is going to have a certain set of options where they allow you to customize this easily instead of going into the code. And we're going to go through all these. I'll show you them. So for the 2017 child theme, you can see on the right hand side, this is our blog right now. So this is the way that our website looks, and we're going to really adjust the layout of this. So for the site identity, this is where you can upload the logo. And as I mentioned, I'm not going to display the title and the tagline. I'm just going to upload a logo instead. So I want to uncheck this box, and I want to upload our logo. So let me go into here where I have my logo file created, and there we go. We're going to select this, and I think they want you to have a square logo, but they do allow you to crop this. So I'm going to crop this just as the full logo. So I don't even know if they're going to adjust the size on this image or keep it as is. But I know that I want the full logo, so I'm just going to select everything there, crop the image, and you'll see how it appears on here. So we're good with this section. We're going to save and publish. And we'll go back, go to the next section. We'll check out the colors. So they allow you to change the color scheme, but I'm going to keep it as is. I want the white background with dark text. We go to the header media, and that's where you can adjust this image. You can actually upload a video if you'd prefer to have, you know, a motion video on here as your header. I actually want to get rid of this because I want to put the logo and their phone number at the top of the page. I want the call to action and their logo to be very prominent, not a big picture where people have to scroll down. And that's kind of the way that a lot of business websites are set up. So if we go down here, I'm going to click the hide image, and you'll see that really just takes away everything and leaves us with a blank template. And we'll save that and check out the next set of options. So menus here, this is where we just were. So you'll see that they bring in the menus into this customize area. The main navigation, we just set that, so we're good to go, and it's currently set to the top menu. Same thing with the widgets. There's a separate section where you can adjust the widgets, or you can do it within this customize section. I personally like to edit the widgets from the appearance widgets area, not from this customize section. So we're going to skip that. Same thing with the static front page. This is the same option that we just looked at in the appearance reading section. So we already set this to the home and the blog page. And we'll go into the theme options. So we're going to make a couple of changes here. Instead of having a 2-column layout, which is kind of more for like a news website or an article-based website, we're going to do a 1-column layout. And one thing that's cool about this is they allow you to put unique content on the home page in these sections, and it grabs content from the other pages that you create. So if you select the drop down here, you'll see that we can choose our page to display this content. So that's what I'm going to use the sample page for. Instead of deleting it, I'm going to create additional content that I'm going to display on the home page in this front page holder that you'll notice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the template file so that instead of just displaying on the home page, we're going to have this content on every single page at the bottom of the website. So what I'm thinking for this is, since this is a remodeling company, I want to put testimonials, a widget area that just has a few blurbs about their business, and then a call to action with their phone number and a button to contact them. Because once again, you know, remodeling companies, they need people to contact them through email or through phone. And so you don't need to overthink this. We really want to be clear with the call to action. So we'll save these settings, and we will eventually edit that. I believe that's all we're going to do in here. They give you an area for additional CSS, but once again, I like to edit the CSS within the child theme style.css from the appearance editor. We're not going to edit, or we're not going to change any more of these settings. We're good to go. So now that we did that, let's go over here and refresh our page. And we'll see our blank template with our home area that has no content, our home page, and then our sample page content, which is featured on the home page right now. And if we go to the blog page, we'll see that the blog page has a little bit different layout. You know, as I mentioned, we don't have that additional content at the bottom right now. And we have a sidebar on the blog page, but this sidebar is specific to a blog. You know, you have your recent posts, your recent comments, archives, categories. So what we want to do is, instead of having a blog sidebar, we're going to put a contact form on the sidebar. And just like the additional content area, we want that sidebar on every page of the website so that it's really easy for people to contact this company. Let's start with putting together the sidebar. So one thing I want to mention is that I'm going to put together a blog post tutorial that's going to accompany this video tutorial, and that's going to have all the code that you need to add in here. So I already started with that. It's not completely done yet, but I'm dropping this in here. So the thing that we need to do to add the sidebar on every page is edit our two template files. We have this index. I believe this is going to be just the plain index.php, which is in our parent theme. That's what's displaying the sidebar, but we don't have that on our pages or the front page. So we need to edit page.php and frontpage.php. So let me go back into the editor over here, and I'm going to navigate to page.php first, I believe. Let me just double check this. Yeah. So in page.php, this is all the code that you're going to find. And this is the tutorial on my website. So the highlighted piece of code is the one line that we need to add, which is right here. This PHP get sidebar function call. So let me go ahead and copy this. And you'll notice that this needs to be added between the ending div tag for the primary div and the ending div tag for the wrap div. And that's what I'm going to paste into here. So let me find that right over here. So here's our wrap div, here's our primary. So we're going to paste this line of code right in between. And this should put the sidebar on every page. So right now we actually don't have any pages that are going to show this, because the home page is dictated by frontpage.php and the blog is dictated by index.php, I believe. So we would have to add a separate inner page to see the page.php edit that we just made. But I'm going to show you the edit that we need to do to frontpage.php. So this is a little bit different. So frontpage.php doesn't have this wrap class, and what this wrap class does, when you wrap all the code in this div element with the class wrap, it actually applies styles, so we don't need to do custom CSS. So for frontpage.php, there's only the 3 lines of code you need to add. You need to wrap the entire primary div in this wrap div, and we want to add our get sidebar line again right before that ending div tag for the wrap. So let me go into frontpage.php, and you'll see once again we have our primary div. The end of the primary is right there, and then we have our footer call. So what I'm going to do is copy the opening div tag before the primary. And you can indent this if you want. Normally when I write code, I'll do it in a program like Notepad++, which is my favorite code editor. And I'll style it, I'll indent it in there, and then I'll just copy paste in here. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to keep it easy. So we just added our wrap tag, and I just need to add these last 2 lines of code right after the ending primary tag. I keep clicking on the wrong tab there. So there we go with this. And we're going to save this. And we will take a look at our home page now, which should have the sidebar. And it wasn't actually placed on the side over here. If we scroll down, we'll see that it's positioned under all this content, and that we want to end up changing that. So we will need to add a little bit of custom CSS. Once again, I'm going to have all that code within the tutorial, and I'm going to paste that in at once instead of doing one line of CSS at a time. We're going to get that fixed up. So let me go back to the tutorial and take a look at our next step. So here we go. This is what we want to do. So in the code here, not only do we want to put that wrap tag in there, but there's also a class called HasSidebar that when that class is added to the HTML code, once again, it's going to take care of some CSS, so we don't need to, we don't need to go crazy with custom code. So let me copy this. We need to edit this in our function.php file, functions.php. So if we go back to the editor, we just need to copy and paste that code into functions.php. So right now, this is what was auto-generated from child theme configurator. And I'm just going to go to a new line at the bottom here, paste this in, and once again, what this function does is, if we have a page that has an active sidebar, we want to add the class HasSidebar, and then we add that filter. So let's update this. You don't really need to know what that means in order to get this done, but if we update this, I believe that our sidebar is going to be in the correct position. And there we go. So you can see that at this point we have our home content, we have our panel content under the home content, and we have our sidebar on the right. So really what I want to do, I'm going to change this up a little bit, because what I want is I want the sidebar to be a contact form, which is going to end up only going maybe down to about here. And I want this content, instead of being in the content area on the left, I want it to be under this entire section, both the content and the sidebar, and I want it to be full width. So I want this sample content to be under here and full width, because like I said, I'm going to put testimonials there and a call to action. So we're going to do a little bit more editing to the template files to get that, but as you can see, just adding that class HasSidebar fixed our problem with our sidebar being at the bottom of the page instead of the right side. So the next step in our tutorial, let's go over here. We're going to edit the home page layout, as I mentioned. So the thing that we want to do here is edit the content, like I said, that sample content area, which in the code it's called panel content. Get each of our panels. So right here, this is the code that is this is the unedited code for frontpage.php. So let me go back into here. We're going to go back to frontpage.php. And you will see this is the code that we're talking about. This is the highlighted code on my tutorial. So this piece of code right here, this is what's going to show that panel content. And as you can see, because it's in this primary div and within this wrap and the primary div, that's why it's showing on the right-hand side of the page. So what we want to do is cut this entire piece of code under this primary div, actually under the wrap, I'm sorry, in between the wrap div and the footer, so that we get it full width right above the footer. So you'll notice that I have the code that you need right over here. So we want to cut that out of the section. And I'm just going to, instead of cutting it on here, I'm literally just going to delete it, because I'm going to copy and paste this code from my tutorial. So we're gonna cut that, remove it, and once again, this is the code that we just cut. All that we want to do is wrap it in two divs. Once again, the wrap div, so that we don't need to do our magic with CSS to get it to look right. And I added another child div with class additional content, addl-content. And this is simply that if we want to target this within CSS to customize, we can do it. And we don't have to rely on the wrap div, which is used in a lot of different places. So let me copy that piece of code just above the footer, I believe. Let me double check that one more time. Yeah, so just above the footer code, in between the other wrap, we're going to paste this in. And once we update that, we should have our sample content under the sidebar, under the content, just above the footer and full width. So let's reload and take a look, and there we go. So that wasn't too hard, that wasn't too hard. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy this once again to page.php. So let me create an inner page really quickly just to show you. I'll create an about page, which I'll eventually fill that with content. But as we publish this page, you'll see a few things. Because we have the automatically add new pages to menu, we should see that about page pop up on the menu. And if we go to that page, what we should see is we should see the sidebar because we added that to page.php, but we haven't yet added this panel content to page.php. So let's refresh, and there you go. We have our about page. We'll click on the about page, and exactly as I described it, that's how it looks. We have our sidebar. We don't have our additional content. So all we're going to do is quite literally copy and paste this exact piece of code from frontpage.php to page.php in the same section, and that's going to place our sample panel content code on every single page. And you'll notice I have that as well on my tutorial. So once again, if you want to double check the code, I'm going to have all that information on my tutorial. So let's go back to Appearance Editor. We're going to go to page.php, and we're going to paste in that panel code just above our footer in between our first wrap element. And we can save that, refresh, and our sample code is right there. So our layout is starting to come together, and we're looking good on here. So let me go to the next step, which is install the Contact Form 7 plugin. This is probably the most popular plugin for contact forms available on WordPress, and I've used it for going on probably 6 years now. I haven't used any other contact form plugin, so I'm very familiar with this and how to edit it. So all we have to do is go to the plugins page and search for Contact Form 7. And I wouldn't be surprised if this one, I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if this had 1 million installs, and you can see it's got 1+ million installs with high ratings. So we're good to go. This is a awesome plugin to use. So let's install it, let's activate it, and that's going to bring up a content menu right over here. I actually don't know if they just registered my click right there. No, they didn't. So let's activate it, and you'll see the contact menu pops up here, and they have a form already filled out, Contact Form 1, which if we go into here, you'll see it already has fields for your name, which is a required field, your email, which is a required field, the subject, which is optional, and the message, which is optional. And then we have our send button. And the way that you place this form on your website is you take the shortcode, which is up here in the blue box. So we'll select that, copy it, and we can put this in our widgets area. So we're going to go to Appearance, Widgets. We have our blog sidebar. So this is all our blog information that we don't really need because we're not going to fill out the blog at the moment. We're going to set up the pages like a business site. So I'm just going to go through, delete every single one of these, and all we need to do is add a text widget, which allows you to type in arbitrary text or HTML and paste in the shortcode. So you can actually do this from either the visual tab or the text tab. The text tab is if you want to use HTML code, and the visual tab is if you just want to edit it, kind of like Microsoft Word, and use a few of the formatting options they have here. But the shortcode takes care of all that, so we're just going to save it, go back here, take a look, and there's our contact form. So I'm gonna also style this. Once I add some of my CSS styles, we're gonna clean this up a little bit. As you can see, we're gonna have this contact form on every page here, and it's gonna make it really easy for people to contact the remodeling company. And funny enough, one thing I noticed is I actually manage websites for a handful of remodeling companies, and on some of them I only have a quote form on a separate page. And when I added this sidebar contact form, I mean, the amount of people that contacted them increased by 3 or 4 times because people don't have to navigate to a separate page. So when you think about the goal of a website, if the goal is to bring in leads, via email or via calls, you want to make it as easy as possible. Limit the number of steps for the people to do that. So don't make them click on a separate page, scroll down, fill out a form that has 10 different, entries. Make it as simple as possible. And one way I'm going to simplify this is I'm not even going to use a subject line, because why do you need a subject line when you have a message? Let's go back to the contact form over here. And we are just going to get rid of this subject line. And the way the contact form 7 works is they also give you short codes within this contact form. So beyond this short code, which is the entire contact form, they have little short codes here for the input areas. So they have, and if you don't know anything about short codes are encapsulated by these square brackets. So they have this text input form, and they give it a name, your name. So they do this with all these different areas. They have text, email, which validates email addresses, another text for their subject, a text area, which is a text box for a message that's longer than 1 line. And when you see this little asterisk here, that is what makes it required. So if somebody doesn't fill out this, it's going to give them an error message and says, hey, you need to fill this out if you want to submit the form. And if we go over to the mail section, you'll notice the slug here, your name, your email, your subject, your message. That's how we pass that information from the form to the email. So we want to put in the person that's going to receive the email, which this is, my name. You're going to put your client's name if you're building this for a client. It's going to be sent from the website itself, so WordPress at yourdomain.com, but it puts in the customer's name with this your name tag. And then instead of using this your subject, because we just eliminated the subject, I'm just going to put Smith & Sons Remodeling estimate from, and I'm going to use your name. Instead of doing the subject, I'm going to also put their name in the subject line. And then down here in the message body, we're also just going to get rid of the subject because we don't need it. So in the message body here, it's going to have their name, their email, their message. It tells you that this email was sent from a contact form on the title of your website, Smith & Sons Remodeling, and it's going to give you the URL of the website. So somebody receiving this message is going to know where this came from. And you'll notice, let me save this actually and show you. We're going to update it. So the subject line is going to be gone. And one other thing I want to do is you'll notice that on here they have labels. So it has the label for your name required, and then this is the input form short code. But what I want to do is I want to make this even simpler. So I want to make this the contact form. So instead of putting in this label above the form, I'm going to put it within here as a placeholder. And instead of typing this code out, once again, I have this code ready to go. So I'm just going to copy and paste the way that I do it in here. And I'll just select it all, paste it in. And in addition to the form elements, I'm adding a heading, H2, that says free estimate, just to make sure that people know what this form is for. So let's save that. Let's refresh and take a look at our form. And you can see what it looks like now with the heading. We got a little line that says, hey, call us or fill the form. And we have these placeholders in here for the name, the email, and the message, which instead of saying your message, I say, hey, how can we help? So it's a little bit more personal. And as I mentioned, we're gonna edit this a little bit further with CSS, but I think we're looking really good here. We're starting to put this together. So let's go back to our tutorial here. We already changed this. The subject line in here, I have estimate form from your name. but you know, I changed that here to Smith & Sons. Remodeling estimate from your name. Doesn't really matter. You could put whatever you want in the subject area. And one other thing here, you'll notice that in the additional headers area, there's one header that says reply to. So this makes sure that when you hit the reply button, it's going to go to the client's email address that they typed in. But say for instance you want to receive the emails that your client is getting. So like for instance, I work for a roofing company, and receiving these emails allows me to see how these people are finding them and where the business is being generated. So a quick example is I was literally shocked at how many people found this roofing company through lawn signs and trucks. You know, through really strong branding, because they have a fleet of trucks with their logo on it, and they have the same logo on their lawn signs. So people know them a lot from their branding. And I wouldn't have known this had I not received these contact form emails. So first, you want to make sure you can get permission from your client to receive these emails. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to add a BCC line. So we're going to have this email also that's sent to the client, also sent to ourselves. So you can put in this BCC line. And right now I have the same website address here as I do here. You wouldn't want to do that because, like I mentioned, this is going to be the client's website, or I'm sorry, the client's email, and this is where you're going to BCC your email address. So the person that is sending the email doesn't know that it's being passed on, but your client's going to know that you're receiving it, and you're going to help on the back end because you understand how people are finding them. So that's a cool little feature that we can add in there. For right now, I'm just going to delete this. But like I said, I wanted to show you that. And another thing which I normally don't use, but you can actually send a confirmation email using this mail to form. So instead of sending the email to your client, you can also send a confirmation email to the person who filled out the form, letting them know that the email was sent successfully. I'm going to give them that alert in a different way, which again we're going to show in a little bit here. But right now, let's save this form and let's move on to the next step. So going back to our tutorial, our next step is the header right widget area. So if I go to the form here, you'll notice that we have a blank spot over here. On the right hand side of the header, we have nothing. So what I want to add on here, once again, is a little headline, you know, one line, and then their phone number, which is big and bold. And instead of doing that manually through code, I want to be able to use a widget area. So we have to create a widget area within WordPress. And we're going to do this through the functions.php file. So let's go in here, and this is our functions.php. You can see this line of code was what we added before to add the has sidebar class. The highlighted code is what we're currently going to add. So this is another function with an action that we want to add to our functions.php. So let's go back here to the appearance editor, go to the functions.php file, and at the bottom of this, paste in our code. So this is a function called top CTA init, which CTA is just call to action, which I named that myself. And we're going to use this register sidebar function, which the sidebar is basically just a widget area. And we can name it, we can determine what HTML code we want to appear before and after it, and if we want a title for it. So I have this all set up for you. We don't have to edit anything in there. We just update it. And when that's updated, you're going to notice that, let me go to the widget section here. You'll see that we have that widget area. It's now showing top CTA widget area. There's nothing in there. Now the thing is, we have the widget area in our WP admin, you know, in our administrator section on WordPress. But if we were to put something in there, it wouldn't actually appear on the website because we first need to add the code to the template files to say, hey, we want to put this widget on this part of the website. So if we go back in here, this is what we're going to use the site branding.php for, which we copied over at the beginning when we did child theme configurator. This file is actually not accessible through the editor. if you notice, if we go to Appearance Editor, they're only going to show you the top level files: frontpage.php, functions.php, page.php, and style.css. But the site branding is actually in a folder called template parts, and we don't have access to that through the editor. So we are going to need to edit this manually. And the way that I like to do it is by using a FTP program called FileZilla. You can actually edit, I think you can edit these files through your HostGator cPanel. But like I mentioned, I like editing code through Notepad++ and uploading with FileZilla. That's just a process that I've used for years now. So let me open up FileZilla and we will get this done. So I have FileZilla open here, and on the left side, this is my desktop, which I have a folder that has all the files that I'm using for this child theme. And I actually already have this child theme completed. So if we go to the 2017 Biz child theme, it's actually got a different name. So I'm going to upload or update this once the video is done with. But you'll notice here are our template files, and then that site branding is within this template parts folder, and within another folder called header. So instead of actually doing this, I'm going to edit it again just to show you, and we're going to navigate to that on the web server. Over here, I'm connected to my WordPress installation. We're going to go to WP Content, and we have to navigate to our themes. We'll go to Themes, and we see our child theme right here. And you'll notice that because we copied it over with child theme configurator, we're going to have this site branding.php already there. So instead of overwriting the file that I currently have, I'm just going to go and copy this over to the top level folder. I'm going to edit it with Notepad++ and just upload it right back to overwrite it. So let me open this up with Notepad++, and here's the file that we just transferred over. So I will open it up, and let me go back to my tutorial page where we can see the highlighted code that we need to add. So this code, once again, we're going to make sure that we have the active sidebar, and if the sidebar is active, we are going to display it in this section on site branding.php, which that's where the logo is put into your website. So we're doing this right under the custom logo function, and right above this div class equals site branding text. So you can see it's right here within our file. We paste it in. Like I mentioned, Notepad++ does a better job with styling this. So if you want to tab it in, you can select it all, just press tab, just to be organized that way. But all we're going to do is we're going to save it, go back to FileZilla, refresh, and then re-upload to overwrite this site branding.php. And now that we have the functions.php ready and the site branding.php, we should be able to see our content on this right side of the header once we add the widget. So let me do that. We're going to go back to Appearance Widgets. We're also going to add in a text widget right here. And in this case, I'm going to use HTML code. Once again, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can use the visual editor, but I wanted to give a class to each of these elements, to the description line and the phone number line. So we're going to go to the text tab and paste that in. We'll save it, and I don't want to put a title on here. I just want to leave the HTML as is. And let's refresh and take a look. And there we go. We have it, but once again, it's under the logo. It's not on the right side of the page. We're going to have to edit some CSS to get it in the right position. And that's the next step we're going to do. I'm just going to go through a bunch of lines of CSS to clean up all these different elements that I've put into place. So let's go over to our tutorial once again. And as you can see here, I have about 54 lines of code that we're going to update. And one thing you'll notice is that I like to comment my CSS code so I know which section is responsible for which styles. So a comment in CSS is simply encapsulated by this this slash asterisk, and it's ended by this asterisk slash. And you can put anything within this, and it's not going to affect your code. So let me go through all this, copy it, and for some reason doing that, just change the color to this. No, it's because I'm like in the text box area. But so yeah, I just copied all that code. All we're going to do is just go to style.css within the editor, appearance editor, and we're going to paste all this in. And you can see this is the code for the sidebar contact form. I have a comment right there. This is the code for the content area. This is the code for the header and navigation. And for all the titles, the headings, I just set them all to bold. Make sure they're all bold. So if we go through these, you're going to see all the different changes that this the CSS does. So let's save it, and let's reload and take a look. And actually, with CSS, a lot of times what will happen is the CSS file is going to be cached. So I need to hard reload this to make sure that we're getting the most updated CSS file. So the way that I like to do this, at least with Google Chrome, is if you have the inspector open and click and hold in the refresh button, it's going to let you hard reload this way. And once we do that, we should see our new styles in place. And yeah, you can see we have the contact form styled. The button's bigger, it's more clear. The contact form itself stands out. We have our navigation bar, which we turn to blue with light text so that it separates the header and the content area a little bit better. And we floated the CTA area, the call to action, to the right side of the page, and we made the phone number bigger. So you can see all the different changes that CSS code made to our website. Let's go to some of the other pages, take a look. So this looks good, the blog page, the about page, and we're good to go. So at this point, we're going to start editing the content. We could start adding the information to the pages. The easy way to do this is with a plugin called Elementor. So let's go back to the WordPress admin area and do this. We're going to go to plugins, add new, and we can search for Elementor. And that's just spelled like Elementor. And the main plugin should pop up first. It looks like they have other add-on plugins for this, which depending on what you want to use it for, you may be able to use these. I haven't used them myself. I just started using Elementor probably about a month ago, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked learning it because it makes it a lot easier to do the design part of things using a drag and drop structure. So let's install it and activate it, and we can get started with it. And once we're activated, you'll notice that when we go to the pages, they do actually have a setting. They have settings down here if you go to Elementor settings, but we don't have to edit any of these. We're going to use it for posts and pages. If you just want to use it for one or the other, you can do it that way. But if we go to the pages here, you'll notice that it takes away the option to edit with the default WordPress editor. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to erase everything that we have in here in our sample page, and I'm going to click this Edit with Elementor button. And you'll notice that when we do that, we can always switch back if we want to manually code in this content, but for now it's going to bring up the Elementor plugin and show us our page content so we can drag and drop things in and out of there. And it actually looks like they still have this content in place. Maybe they imported it. So I'm just going to delete this section. And we have the sample page open. So this is going to be the content that's going to go on every page right above the footer. The first section I want testimonials, and if you notice on the left hand side here, they give you the ability to drag and drop all kinds of content. So you could do videos, images, columns, a heading, the text editor, a button, a spacer, divider, Google map, icon, image box, icon box, carousel, gallery, progress bar, counter, testimonial, tabs, toggle, social icon, SoundCloud. So this is sort of amazing the amount of functionality that you can get with drag and drop. And this is all stuff that you would have to usually manually code and then style yourself with CSS. And the visual editor within WordPress is notorious for not really looking the way that your page is going to look on the live website. So this, as far as I can tell, this solves that problem. And this is a free plugin. They also have a paid upgrade, which I haven't used that. But if you start using this and you really want more, I would highly recommend that you check out the paid plugin, which I believe is about $99. It's either $79 or $99. And I'll include a link to that in the description. But for right now, we're just going to get started with these free elements. And we're going to drag in our first testimonial. And so once you drag in a content element and you can click on it and edit it, the edit panel is on the left, so we can change the testimonial here. So right now they just have the lorem ipsum text, which is just standard text that is put in as a placeholder. We're going to leave that as is. I'm not going to write a review. So from here we can choose our image, and I have a few free stock images of faces. So let me upload one of them. If I go into the photos here, and yeah, here we go. This is actually not perfectly square, so I think it may adjust the width so it's square, so this may not look perfect, but let's insert it. And yeah, you can see the face on here is a little bit skinnier just because the image I have is not a perfect square. So that's just one thing to note. But other than that, we can go through, put the name. I'm going to put Jane Doe instead of John Doe. In here, this is a job description, but in the case of a remodeling company, you might actually want to put the city name, to show that this person's from a local city. So I'm going to use a city in New Jersey, Avalon, New Jersey, which is a shore town near Ocean City in the southern part of New Jersey. And we can change the image position, which I like the way it is right here. But if you want to change the image position to the top, you could do that, but I like it aside. And the same thing with the alignment. If you want to go left align, we could do that, but I like the way that center looks, especially since I'm going to have this, like I said, full width underneath all this content, which you'll see. And I mean, that's all there is to it. We can also adjust the style even more by going to the style tab over here. So you can change the content color, which I'm not going to do that. Typography, we can change the size if we want to make it bigger or smaller. And for this, because I'm using a sans serif font for the majority of this website, I'm just using whatever default font is built into this. But I want a little bit of contrast with the testimonial, so I'm going to make that Georgia, which is, that's just pretty much available on every computer. We can make it bold, and we can also change, I'm not going to change anything else with the text here, but if you go down to the image section, we can change the image size. So if we want to make the image size a little bit bigger with that picture, we could do that as well. And I'm not going through every single option here, but if you want to change the border radius, you could do that. You could change the text color and the typography of the name, and the job, which is again the city, which we have listed down here. And in the advanced section, they give you a few more options. One of them, which is kind of cool, is the entrance animation. So say for instance we want to have this just bounce in when the user scrolls down, so it makes it a little bit more noticeable. And that's all I'm going to change on here. So we're just going to save this, and I'm going to load in a few more testimonials, so we have 3 of them. So once we're done with this, we can go back to this. If we click this button up here, this will bring us back to all the widgets. And we'll just go down and drop in our second testimonial. So you could do this either in a new section or within this section. I don't know if there's a real advantage which way you do it. So like that's one thing I haven't figured out, haven't tested with it enough to figure it out. But let me exit this column and this section, and I'm going to try and drag it into the other one, and just we'll see if it makes any difference, which I don't think it's going to. So let's go through and make this look the same. I just want to take note of the size that I made this. So for the typography, we have size 22, and for the image, we went to 91. So to make this easier, I'm just going to go 90, and content size, we'll just do 20. And so let's click on our second testimonial. We'll upload a new image, and we will go through and edit this testimonial. So I'm going to call this Jane Johnson. Now, you know what? We're going to give her the name Janice. Hey, you know what? Janis Joplin. Let's just do it. So we'll do a different town for her. Cape May, New Jersey. We'll go into the style, turn the typography on, size 20, font family Georgia, font weight bold, and the image size we are going to do, 90. And let's finish this off. I'm going to go through one more, and we'll continue on this page. Okay, so we're done with the testimonials here. So I'm going to add a few more elements to this page, but let me save it for the time being, and we can view it over in our website. So this should show up now instead of this section here. We should have the Elementor content. And there we go. So the one thing that I want to do here is just add a title with testimonials. So let me go back and do that. Once again, we could just drag and drop an widget over here, an Elementor widget. So I'm going to drop the title right in here. We can edit the text over here. Testimonials. If you want to link to this, you can, but I'm not going to link it. Default size, we're going to do large. And H2, you can change the heading if you'd like. We're going to center it, and we'll go over to the style. And I want this to be almost black. I like to do just off black, which is hex code 333. That's what I like to do. And that looks good for now. So let's save it. And what I'm going to do is add a button at the bottom of this that's going to link to the full testimonials page if we want to add more testimonials on there. So let's go back to the widgets, and let's check out the button widget. And I think I just passed it by. Yeah, it's up here. So I can drag that in there. And by default, they have a few styles built in. They have the green style, the info style, which is blue, success, which is green, warning, which is yellow, and danger, which, as you can guess, is going to be red. So I'm going to leave this default, and I'm going to put in a custom hex code, which I'll grab in a second. But for the button text, we'll put read more reviews. For the link, I don't have the testimonials page, but I can copy and paste that in here once it's done. I'm just going to put this hashtag as a placeholder for the link. And we want this center aligned. We're going to do an extra large button. We want these buttons really easy to see, easy to click, so the user can't miss it. Let me go into the style. And I actually picked out a color palette. I didn't really use it heavily because we're going to be editing most of this with Elementor, but I picked out a color palette with varying blue shades. So I think the blue that we're going to want to use here, let me try this one. Let me exit out of there. Let me select this hex code, which is 16324F. And I'm going to copy that, and I can go back to the button and change the background color of the button. And there we go. That gives us the blue color that we want. So let's save that once again, and we can go back to our website and refresh. Take a look. And now we got our title in there. And I didn't add the animations on these other two, so I can go back and do that. But you can see that we're quickly putting together this website. And One thing that I notice, this is probably not a big deal at all, but it just seems like this button's a little bit close to this guy's testimonial. So I'm going to change the padding or the margin for this button. So we'll go back to Elementor and we can see how to do that. Let me click the button style. We have border radius, text padding. So I think this might, let me see if this is under the advanced. Yeah, I think this is going to be under advanced. We're going to use the margin. So we're going to do top margin, and I think by default it's going to link all of these values together. So if I do 20, it's going to give us a margin across the board, top, right, bottom, left. Let me unlink that, and I actually want these to be 0. And this top, I'm going to continue adjust it until I get what I want. You can see it going down over on the right side of the, or over on our viewport. So I think 40 is a good value for this. So we drop that down by 40 pixels by applying the margin top to this button. So we'll save that. And the next thing we want to add is a 3-column widget area. And for that, I'm going to use the icon box style. But to add this new section, if we click Add New Section here, this is where you can select different column layouts. So like I said, we're going to do 3 columns. And I'll go back to the widgets over here, and I'm going to use this icon box. So let me drag in, I'm just going to drag in all 3 of these right now, and then we'll go ahead and edit them. So for this, I'm just going to put 3 fake headlines in here. For this one, I'll do quality remodeling. And try and pick an icon that matches that. So I think they have one here for a bathtub. Yeah, there we go. So you can see that it changes our star to a bathtub. And I don't want this to be blue either. Let me make it or I don't want it to be this light blue. So let me make it a dark blue over here. We'll pick the darkest blue color here, which is hex code 13293D. So I'll copy that and use that for the title and description color. So I'm assuming I got to go over here to the style. We have our icon hover, content, title, color. Here we go. So let me paste that in. And you can see it changes the color of the title there. And I also want to change the color of this icon to a little darker blue. So let me do that one using this blue color over here. 2A628F. So I'll go back to the icon, primary color, and we can paste in our code there, and you can see how it all looks. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with these next 2 and just pick headlines and icons that match. So for this headline, we'll do on time, on budget, and pick something that has to do with either money or time. So let's see what we got here. We'll browse through these. And I think they have a calendar. Here we go. Actually, there it is right here. I'm going to use the calendar icon for this one. We'll go into style and pick our colors here. And you know what? Now that I see this, I actually don't want this blue. I'm going to use the same color that I used up here, which is 333. So let me change that really quickly. Change that to 333. It really doesn't make that big of a difference, but it's just easier to remember, so I don't have to copy and paste that other one. We'll go into the style here, and I think I have the lighter blue color copied, so let me go to the icon, primary color, and I could paste that in, go to the content, title color 333, and I just picked something else there, so 333. And just so you know, 333, when it's only 3 digits, the second 3 digits just repeat, so it actually is 333 333. If you type it in fast enough, it seems to just automatically give you those last 3 digits. So let's go over to the third widget over here, and we're going to leave the star because contractors get reviewed online. They have reviews on, Angie's List, Facebook, Yelp, Google. Google has a business section where you can get your business listed on the maps. So we'll just put 5-star reviews and quickly edit these styles. Primary color for the icon, paste in our hex code. Content, color 333 333, and we're good to go with that. And just like the other area, I'm going to drag in a title here. So let me go back to the widgets, and I'll bring in my heading. Let me see if I can. I don't know if they're going to let me do this above this 3-column area, so I think I have to actually add a new section. So I'll just have to add a new section here, and I'll see. It doesn't look like I can drag and drop this section. Oh, there we go. So that's going to allow me to reorder by clicking this button over here. And let me just drag in the headline or the heading, and I wonder if I can drag this in here. For some reason, yeah, no, it doesn't look like we can drag the 3-column into this element. So I'm just going to put why choose us with a question mark. So this is the little widget area that's going to give them the blurb on why they want to choose our remodeling company. So we're going to center that and make this also 333 color. And for some reason, because this is another section, there's almost too big of a separation here. Once again, this headline's a little bit close to this button up top. Let me just save it and view it over on our website, and I'll make any adjustments as necessary. And yeah, I mean, that's button up right up against it. So I'm just going to, just like I did with this button, add the margin top to this headline. May make it a little bit more, something like 50 to 70. So I'll go to the advanced section. I'm going to unlink these numbers, and let me just type in 40. And that gives us a little bit more space there, a little more separation. So let's save that and take a quick look. I think we're going to be good, and we can move on. Yeah. So the last thing I'm going to end with is a call to action. Once the people see the reviews, once they read this section, if they're ready to give us a call, I want the number right in front of their face. So we're going to add one more just headline, call to action, and then a button with our phone number. So let's add this section here. We're going to go back to the widgets, add a headline, change this to our call to action, which is call today for free estimate. We will center it, and this one I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to make this one, I could either change the headline, make it a heading 1, or leave it as is as a heading 2 and change the size here. So just for right now, I'm going to do this. We'll make it large, and I'm going to change this color to our 333 hex code. And now that we're good with that, we'll go back to our widgets and add our final button with the phone number. So let's drag in the button. We are going to make this a big button. We're going to make this extra large. We're going to center it. And our text here is going to be the phone number, which is fake, obviously, 888-111-2222. And for this button, you can actually add an icon. So we're going to add a phone icon to this button because it's a phone number. So that will give us our icon right next to the phone number, and we can change the icon spacing. So give it a little bit of spacing here. I think about 15 looks good. And also, to make it a little bit wider, let's change the padding. So if we go over to the style here, so there's two paddings. We have the padding here for the element and the padding here for the text. So I would think that the text padding is what we want to do to make the button bigger. So, and really what I want to do is I'm going to change all four paddings: the top, the right, the bottom, and the left. Obviously, we're going to have the top and the bottom padding the same, and the left and the right matching, so it's all even and centered. So let's unlink these for the time being. And for the text padding, we will do, right now we have 20 top, which doesn't look like enough. Let's do 30. We will, and on the right, normally what I like to do is double the padding on the right as opposed to the top and bottom, so we'll do 60 here. And we'll just repeat those two numbers for the bottom and the left, 30, 60. And that makes our button bigger. And the other thing that I like to do is make sure the call to action buttons are the same color. So I want it to be a red color, just like I styled on here. So we can either do that with custom CSS code, or if we go back to here, we can use the danger symbol. So for right now, we're just going to do this. I may end up changing the color of this to match this red, since it's a little bit different. This is a lighter red. But for the time being, I like the way this looks. And we will go ahead and save it. And maybe at the end, I'll make a few CSS updates to really clean everything up. So let's go over to our site, refresh. And we have all of our content here. And you can see we need to add a margin top to this to space it out a little bit. So you don't get the exact look, once again, that you're seeing on here, but this is a lot closer than what you normally see on the visual editor without the Elementor plugin. So I'll go over to advanced, unlink, and we'll go the same margin, 40 top. So let's save that. Take a look, make sure everything looks good, and I think it looks really good to me. So what we're going to do next is build the rest of the page content. We're going to go through and update our home page content. We'll build some inner pages, and we'll also fill out the about page. Let's open the home page up in WordPress admin and start editing that. So I'll exit out of this page, go back to the dashboard. And that actually brings you back to the page here, not the WordPress dashboard. So we want to navigate to our home page. And you can either click through and click the Edit with Elementor button, and they also put it over here, so it makes it a little bit easier to get to there. So for the home page, what we're going to use is an image box. And you can do a few options here, but on the inner pages, I'm going to use image gallery. And you could either use an image carousel, which is like a slideshow, but the image box I think is good because it gives you a little section to write underneath, and you can pick your best image. So for this one, once again, I downloaded a bunch of free stock photos, so I'm going to upload one of them. And I'll do the picture of the full house, the outdoor house. And you know what, let me do one with sunshine. I'm not sure the landscaping on this one looks as good, but the house is nice. So let's insert this. And obviously right now this is like a thumbnail, so we want to make it much bigger. And we're going to change our title text to the name of our company, Smith and Son Remodeling. And I'll put LLC just so they know they're a real business, even though they're not. And then let's go through and check out the styles here. So here's the image spacing. I'm not going to adjust that. I'm just going to drag this so it's 100% for the image size. And other than that, let's see the content. I just want to change the color of the title and make this 333. And we're good to go in there. And I think on the home page you're going to see this title home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the title of this to something that's a little more SEO friendly, like remodeling contractor in NJ or New Jersey. And what will happen is when you change the name of the page, it's going to also change the name of the menu here. But I can go back and update the menu. So the menu says home, but the title of the page is actually remodeling contractor in New Jersey. So that's going to be our next step that I'll do once I save this. So let me exit out and finish that up. Yeah, so right here, we're going to actually change this to remodeling contractor in New Jersey. So we'll update this, and you'll notice when I refresh the page, this is going to be the new name of the menu option up here. And let me navigate to that page so we see what we just edited. So here we go. So all I need to do now is go into the menu and change that back to home, and we will be good to go. And since I'm logged into WordPress, you see this edit button here, but a user that wasn't logged in, that's just visiting this website, wouldn't see that. So our home page is pretty much done. I mean, how quick was that? We did it in under an hour, and it looks great because of Elementor. So let me update the menu, finish that up, and then we can move on to the next page. And here we go. I just got to change the navigation label back to home. And I'm going to put the about page second as well. I want the blog page last. So let's start building the second page, the about page. And we're going to once again edit all these pages with Elementor. And I'm going to use the same widget on the about page, the image widget, but obviously for the about page I'm going to have a picture of a person. I'm sorry, I don't want the image widget, I want the image box widget. Let me delete that real quick, and there we go, image box. So the image that I have here, I picked the most contractor-like person that I could find. I don't know if you'd call that stereotyping, but I think this guy looks a little bit more like a contractor than this business guy over here. So we will update the heading, give them a little bit more knowledge about the company. So we'll say they've been active for 20 plus years and experience you can trust. And we're going to change this to 100% sized image. Actually, you know what, for this one I want to make it smaller. I think it's a little bit big at 100. So let's go more like 60%. I think that's good. And we will update the color of the title. And we're good to go on this page. So let's review it. We can reload, and our menu is better. We click the About page, and there you go. So obviously you'd want a little more text in the About page, and you might even put other images in here. Once again, this is the cool thing about Elementor. It's really easy to figure out the type of content you want to plug in and just drag and drop it. So for the next two pages, I'm going to do a kitchens page and a bathroom page that has a few images. So we're going to do an image gallery. So let's add that page. We'll exit out of here and add the new pages. And we'll just call this kitchens. And you know what? I'm going to call it kitchen remodeling. So the URL here just automatically updated to kitchen. So if you wanted to have the URL kitchen remodeling, you can just manually edit that if you like. But once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have kitchen remodeling as the title in the web page, but I'm going to put kitchens in the navigation menu so it saves space. So let's edit this and get our gallery going. I believe I have 3 or 4 pictures each of kitchens and bathrooms. So let's drop in the image gallery, and we can set our image thumbnail size, which I'm fine with that. Because it has a sidebar on the right and it's not as wide, I'm going to have 3 columns instead of 4. And we'll have it linked to the media file, and after we finish the pages, I'll show you how we can open that in a fancy box or like an image module that puts a black overlay on the background, so you don't need to actually click through and open up the image file itself. And we're going to do default order. We don't want to do a randomized order. So let's upload our images here. So for kitchens, I think we got a kitchen right here. And I don't know, I got to see if I can actually select a few, upload a few at a time here by holding the shift button in, or control, I'm sorry. So there's one. Let's see if I can add 2 at a time. I mean, this is a kitchen photo, not necessarily the best of a stove. Here's a kitchen. Okay, so, and we got another one down here. This one looks good. So let's see if I can upload all these simultaneously, and it looks like I can. So we have these 5 photos selected, and we're going to create a new gallery. It looks like this one has a caption built in, but I'm actually going to leave these captionless. I don't want any captions on this. I just want the images. So we'll insert this gallery. And look at that. We have a nice looking thumbnail grid layout. So we'll save it. And check out our new page. And I don't think, now that this is saved, I think it only saves once it's published, so I may need to exit out of here and publish the page. Yeah, it's just a draft right now. So let me publish this and see if it's good to go on this side. And there we go. Add it to the menu. So I'll end up creating the bathrooms page, and then just editing the menu at once with both the kitchen and the bathroom. Let's click an image and see how this operates. And I didn't think that this was built in. It looks like they have the what I was just talking about before, with opening these in a fancy box. The fancy box is the particular software that I'm familiar with. I'm not sure if they use another add-on, like a JavaScript add-on, but either way, that's one less step we got to do. So I'm pretty happy about this. So we're good to go with this, and we're going to build the bathroom remodeling page. So we can just click Add New from here. And because I had the URL labeled kitchens, I'm going to do bathrooms for this, make sure the URL gets generated, and then I'll just switch this once again to bathroom remodeling. And I'm going to publish it, and then we'll start editing with Elementor. And this is just going to be the same thing that we did with the other page. We're just going to do an image gallery and have 3 or 4 images. So change it to 3 columns, and let's add our images. So our bathroom, let's make this a little bit bigger. We'll go extra large icons, so you can see some of these images. And I'm going to include all these images in the resources file for this website, which you can find at websiteprofitcourse.com/biz. And I don't know if I just scrolled past a few. I know I have a couple in here. There's one. That's a toilet I see. That's a cool one right there. And we are good to go. Let me see. I got to get one more in here. I really thought I had 3 or 4 in here for bathrooms. But yeah, I just totally missed the first one here. Alright, so that's good. We got 3 images that we can add into this gallery. So let's create it. We don't have any captions on this, which is okay for me. And there we go. You can adjust the spacing if you like. I didn't even look at that for the last one, but I'm fine with the way this looks completely. And I don't want to do any entrance animations or anything like that. So let's save it, view it, take a look. And if you didn't notice, I love doing I love doing these things in increments. I mean, if you're trying to build an entire website in one shot, it's kind of hard. But if you kind of view it and break it down into the different components, the different pages, and constantly check your updates, see what worked, what didn't, and then that's really how you can learn CSS, JavaScript code, and HTML. That's how I did, at least. So let's go over to the bathroom page, and here's our bathroom gallery. So that is a nice looking remodel. That's a modern bathroom, and the same thing with that. I actually like the way that they have this like floating. I love that look. And so we're good to go with that. Let's continue to the next page, which I'm going to create a videos page, because obviously videos are becoming more and more popular. They're easier to make on your phone, and there's really no better way to get your message across and to build trust than have a video. And in fact, if the video is good enough, I might put it on the home page if it was more like a 30-second commercial, pitch versus maybe an on-the-job type video. But I'm just going to create that page, so we'll go over back to the WordPress admin, pages section, add new, just call this videos. We will publish and edit. And Elementor automatically links to a template video, and then you can change the URL. Because I don't have a video, I'm just going to use their template. So we'll drag that in, and this is really all you have to do. You can put a title above it if you like. So let me add a few here, and I'll add titles. So let's go back to the widgets, and I'll drag in another video. And I'm going to drag in 2 headlines, and then I will, if I can't drag it in above these videos, I'll just drag them below, and you can drag and drop the elements once they're placed on here. So I'm good to go here. I guess if it's one column, they allow you to stack elements within one section. So we'll add our second heading here. We'll just call this one message from the owner. And then once again, if you want to link this, you can, but we're not going to link the heading. Obviously, we want them to just watch the video. And I'll change this text color to 333 to match everything else. How about we do newly renovated kitchen tour? So, it's in my experience working with some contractor clients, it kind of is a pain in the ass to get them to create any content about themselves, whether it's taking pictures of jobs, before and afters, videos. So, you can add that as a service if you're local and do it for them, but sometimes it's like pulling teeth, but this is the kind of stuff that people love to see on the website. So let's save this. And really quickly, I'm just going to update the menu as I mentioned before. And then we'll go back to the website and check it out. And this is what I want to change here. Just change this to kitchens and bathrooms. And once again, we're going to drag the blog to the last area here. And then I'm going to create one more page, which is the contact page. And I do want that last because, I think instead of being hidden in the middle somewhere, that's kind of one of the pages that you want people to see once they go through all your information on your website. So let's take a look. And we'll check out the videos page. So here's the video, and I think they have just a little short 15-second clip. But I believe they have an option to put the video within Fancy Box if you want to create a custom screenshot that people can click and then open up the video in Fancy Box. I think they give you the option for that. Let me quickly review. But since I don't have a screenshot available, I'm not going to worry about that. That's the type of thing you might want to do if you have like 10 videos, because I think if you just embed the video itself like this, sometimes it could take a little bit longer to load. Whereas if you do the Fancy Box instead, you're just loading the screenshot image, and then when you click the video, that's when you actually load the video content from YouTube. So let me just take a look at this really quickly and see where you can adjust that if it's possible. Let's click on our video. I don't want to play it, I want the element. There we go. And yeah, right here you have the player control. You can change the video options, and here it is, image overlay. So if we want to put an image overlay in like this, you can upload your image, have the play icon, and then just turn this light box on. So it opens in the light box. And you can see the example right here. So that's another cool way to do it. If you want to pick the best screenshot, or maybe create a new image that isn't even in the video. But for our sake, we're not going to do that. We'll just go back to the dashboard, and because I changed it, I'm just going to leave without saving. And we'll create the final page, the contact page. And on this page, as you might expect, we're going to add a map element. They give you the option to embed a Google map on your website. So obviously for a local business, that's pretty important to have. And sometimes contractors work either out of PO boxes or out of home, so that they don't want to put their address, but you at least want the service area. So you may be able to create a custom map if you look into the Google Map customizations. But for our purposes, we're just gonna put the standard map in here, and by default they show you London, but we're gonna change this to Ocean City, and I'm gonna make a fake address. 123 Main Street, Ocean City, New Jersey. And so this will just zoom in to the Ocean City area. Or I guess maybe not. They're trying to find the closest 123 Main Street. So let's just go with Ocean City, New Jersey. Keep it even easier. And there we go. It highlights the entire city. Whoa, did not want to do that. And we could change the zoom level if you want to zoom in a little bit further. So that's actually kind of cool. We'll go to zoom level 12. And because we don't have anything else on this website or on this page, I'm going to make the height a little bit bigger. So we'll do maybe 550 for the height. And if for some reason you don't want people to be able to scroll here, you can leave this as is. But I would give the user the option to scroll if they want to scroll around, zoom in. I don't know why you'd want to prevent that, unless you're really showing one specific area. But so that's the way we're going to show the map. And I just want to put one more text widget on here to display our address. So it looks like they have the WordPress visual editor over here that we can use. So let me see if I could just put in the business name and address. And as you can see, they're adding a full paragraph for each one of these lines. I believe we can go into the text section here and just take them out. And let me save it and see if that works. Sometimes this is a little funky, dealing with the HTML. The one thing you could do with, if you're just using HTML characters, you can put in a break, a line break. I'm not sure how that's going to work, and it doesn't look like it worked there. Let me see if I can actually put in the HTML code, which is side caret br slash, and then you end the side caret with the opposite direction. We're just going to copy and paste that. Actually, I don't need it on the last line here. So yeah, it looks like that fixed it. And sometimes when you go back to the visual editor and back to the text, it's going to mess that up. It looks like it's preserving it here, which I don't know why it didn't work in the first place. This is why operating in the visual editor is kind of funky, and I always default to HTML because I have the knowledge, which if you don't, then Elementor makes things a lot easier for sure. But it's always good to know a little bit of HTML, a little bit of CSS, so you can work around your, around these limitations. So right there, I just put in bold for our company name. I don't see why this is not. There we go. It wasn't showing over here until I switched over to the visual tab. So this is a little bit funky the way this is operating. But you just got to play around with it and get it to work. So let me exit out of this. We'll go back to the dashboard, check it out. And we have a good to go page here. So right now, this website is pretty much built out. Obviously, if it was a real client website, you'd put more content into it and a little bit more time with the wording, the copywriting. But just like that, we have customized the template files, a little bit of CSS, and used the Elementor plugin to really build an amazing professional website using the built-in 2017 theme. So that was kind of my plan for this entire video, and it came together really nicely. Like I said, I had never even heard of the Elementor plugin until about a month ago, so I'm just really excited. It's just fun to do this kind of stuff in WordPress, and if you have that type of attitude, you'll go pretty far. To finish up here, we got a couple more things we need to do. I'm going to add a social media menu to the footer, because I think this is built into the 2017 theme where it already has styles for the main social media sites. So let's go back to the WordPress admin, and we're going to add a second menu to our main navigation menu. So we'll go to Appearance, Menus, and we are going to create a new menu. So the way to do that is hit this Create a New Menu button. We'll just call it Social Links. And for this one, we are going to do custom links. So we want to just add our custom links for the domain, and it's going to tell which domain that we're using and automatically put the icon in. So I'll just do 3 popular ones. Facebook.com. I don't think the link text is going to show. This may just show if you hover over the link, but we'll put it in there anyway. So we have Facebook. We'll put in Yelp, because that's a big one for small businesses. And the final one is Instagram. Now, I can tell you that a local contractor is not going to be using Instagram, and if they are, it's unlikely they have a lot of followers or popularity, because most of them are not going to be savvy enough to use Instagram in the right way. But the other social networks, or the other directory type sites that contractors might be listed on, would be Angie's List. Another big one is Houzz.com, which is Houzz, it's kind of like a Pinterest but for home remodeling ideas. And there's a few others, but we'll see what happens when we set this to the social links menu. We can set the display location to the social links menu, and we'll save it. And I believe that's going to add it to the footer automatically. So let's refresh. And there we go. We have our social links right here. Facebook, Yelp, and Instagram. Now that we have that done, the other thing we want to do is just check for mobile styles. So let's check for responsiveness and see if there's any updates that we need to do to make it look good on every size screen. And I have a little plugin, resizer JavaScript tool that does this for me. So it brings up this bar up at the top here, and I can choose different sizes. And a couple of things that I want to take note of is at what pixel width does the new styles, or do the new styles come into play? Because the parent theme has some responsiveness built into it. So I want to use those same widths to organize my mobile code for CSS. So it's probably hard to see on this video, but up here they're giving me the size of the viewport that I'm looking at right now. So right now it's at 1232 pixels wide. And really what I'm looking for is the first change that I noticed to the website where something is drastically different, whether it's font size, font color, the navigation menu changing to a mobile optimized menu. So let's drag it down, and it looks like, so this is one change that I can make right here. Once we drag down under about maybe 870 pixels, these two, the logo and the call to action area, are kind of separated there. So we could do one of two things. We could either center them both, or I can change the size of this logo so that it appears on one line. And as I mentioned, the first big change that I see here is this navigation menu updating. So this seems to happen at, let's see, we're at 780. So it's right at about 776, 770, let's see, 775, 773. So it's probably right at about 770. And it looks like it might be 768, 769. There we go, 768. So that's the one width that we're going to work with. So I'm just going to take note of that. And the other one is, I like doing 960 because 960 pixels wide is the general, the first level of responsiveness. So we're going to do 960, 768. And let's look for the next change for this. Let me scroll down here a little bit and see if I can update this. Okay, so right here I can see the font size changing. So right here you have a bigger font size, and when we drag it down here you can see the font size updates. And it looks like this occurs at, let's see here, 483. So it looks like this occurs at 480 pixels. So those are the three widths that we want to deal with: 480, 768, and 960. And I think most of the updates that we're going to make here are going to be to the header and navigation areas. So yeah, if we open the menu here, we can see that the text, when it's fully expanded, we have white text with a hover color of gray. So when we have the mobile optimized menu, we need to change that to dark text because otherwise it's white on white and we can't see it unless we hover. So there's a few changes we're going to make here, but let me put in the skeleton code for the media queries so you can see that. So I'll go back to the WordPress editor. We'll go to Appearance Editor, and we're going to put the responsive code at the bottom of our style.css after all our regular sized, or our code for the regular sized website, the full size website. And I have this code copied. So you'll notice here the way to target specific widths is through the media queries. So I have my comment here, responsive media queries, and the way this is done is you have this @media only screen, and then you can target minimum width or a maximum width. So we have max width of 960. So as soon as it drops below 960, it's gonna use this code. And then the next line is max width 768. So once we drop below 768, this code here is going to overwrite any code that we have in this media query section. And likewise for this line, which is max width 480 pixels. So just to speed this up, instead of going line by line, I have this code completed. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. And if you take a look, you'll notice that most of this is once again the top area. So this is custom logo link. We're changing the max width. As I mentioned, I'm going to update the width so that everything falls on one line until we reach 768 pixels. And at that point, I'm going to make sure that the width is 100%, and I'm going to center everything. And I'm also changing the color for the navigation. And we have a few more changes here to button sizes when we drop down below 480, because in some of those instances the big text plus the padding, it actually makes one line of the button text drop to the second line. So we're going to update this, and as I said a few times before, all this code is going to be available to you at websiteprofitcourse.com/biz. So let's go back here, and for this one I'm going to do a hard reload because, as I mentioned before, sometimes the CSS code will be cached. So when we change CSS, sometimes we need to do the hard reload. We'll bring up the resizer again so this loads up, and let's check out our changes. So hopefully at this point, when it breaks down, we shouldn't have any funky looking header or nav area. And there's the first bit of responsiveness. So once we drop below 960, the max width of the logo is made smaller, so it stays on one line. And then here we go. Once we drop below 768, we have it full width and centered. And then if we check our menu color, we changed it from white to our 333 hex code, which is just about black. The hover code can stay the same. You know, I think you can still notice the gray good enough with the white background. And another thing that I did is I made the photo width 100% when we drop down to the mobile size width. So let me show you on the About page. If we go to the About page here and I adjust the width, you'll see that if you remember, we did this at about 60% width. So once we drop down below our 480 width, this should be 100%. So yeah, the width changes to 100% because once we're down here, if we have 60% width at this small, iPhone-sized viewport, the image is going to be really small. So that's another change that I made, and you can see it's affecting this right here. It affects the testimonials, so we need to figure out how to fix that, and it shouldn't be too difficult. And and as I say that, I think back to the many times that I had such an easy fix, design fix that took one line of CSS code, but it took me an hour to figure out what that one line was. So I spent plenty of time cursing at my computer, and you may do the same, but the reward when you get to the end and you figure it out, it's definitely worth it. And then over time, you get to a point where you see, 80% or 85% of the problems that normally occur, and it becomes easier to fix them. So let me inspect this and take a look. I know what's going on. Like I said, I set the image size width to 100%. So this is getting set to 100%, but the height isn't adjusting. So I think what I want to do, let me see here. So the line of code that's actually doing this is right here. This is from our custom CSS. And if we click into the style.css file, we'll see all our code here. So this is what we're looking at. This width equals 100%. And there's two elements that I have this applied to. The entry content IMG. With entry content is a class that comes with pretty much every post and page on WordPress. So it's just within the post and page content. And the other thing that I set here is the Elementor image box image. And that's what I have up here. So this, if you remember, we used the image box widget on Elementor, and I have that set. So I think I can tell that this is the line of code that is changing our testimonial image. So I think what I want to do is change this. There's only actually two instances of images within the entry content that I want to change to 100%. The other one is over here in the gallery. So if we go to the kitchens or bathrooms page, it looks like this is automatically going to resize, but if we drop down here to an iPhone sized, this is the other reason that I wanted this code here, is for this gallery to be 100% width when we're down to this size. And when you click it, it's still going to bring up the fancy box, so it's not the perfect solution. But the way that I'm going to fix this is by changing this line of code, entry content IMG, to target the Elementor. Instead of the image box IMG, we're going to target the image gallery. So let me find the class that we want to use here for the CSS. And if we go up a few items here, this is what I'm going to target, Elementor image gallery. So let me copy that, go back to our sources tab, which is going to show us our style.css, and I can test this out right here. So I'm going to leave this dot because the dot is what tells us that it's a class. We're going to paste in the Elementor image box, or I'm sorry, Elementor image gallery IMG. And hopefully, with this change, our testimonial is the right size. And there you go, it's fixed. So once again, let me I'm just going to hit Control Z so you can see the change right there. And you can see that's what changes our image. And as I paste it in, it fixes it. So that's all we had to do. That's all we have to do to make this work. So let me copy that line of code, and I'm going to make sure that we have it updated over in our style.css file. And this is the line that we're replacing. So let's update that, and I think we're going to be good to go with the images. We should be done with that. Another random change that I just see as I hover over here, these buttons, not this button because I have this custom coded with CSS, but this button here, when you hover over it, the text is black. And I really want to keep that white because it's not enough contrast. And I think that's just a default option within the Elementor buttons. So I'm going to do that with both of these buttons as well. So let me go back here. We have this updated, and I will go back to Elementor, go to the pages, our sample page, and we will quickly see if they have an option to change the color for the button hover. And if I go over to the style, let's see here. We have button, doesn't look like we have it over here. Let's see if they offer any options on here. Element style, margin padding, Z index, CSS classes and ID. Background, hover. I think, nah, it doesn't look like they give you the option to change the text. Border, responsive. Let me go back to style. And here we go. I completely messed this option here. We under the style here, we have normal and then hover. So I just got to click over to hover, and I could change the text color to white. So if I set that, I don't know if it's going to set here. Yeah, it looks like it's set. So yeah, now that we hover, it stays white. So I'm going to save that. And we'll add the same change to this last button. Go to style, hover, text color, FFF, which is white, and that stays. And you know what? Just to make this match, I'm going to change it to the same color as this. So let me right click and check out the hex code for this color, which is BB0000. So I can copy that. And we will change the background color to that value so it matches. And they automatically adjust the hover color based on your button color. So now that that is saved, I think we're going to be done with our styling. And if that's the case, all we have left that I'm going to show you is adding Google Analytics. So let me really quickly do a one last check, browse over the site, make sure our hover options look good, our red matches right there, check the gallery page, let's adjust the size of this, make sure everything's good with our images. So that looks okay, our image size is good there. So yeah, we're done here. You know, we're done the design of the website. So we're going to finish it off by installing Google Analytics, and that is what's going to track your. It's going to give you reports for your website traffic, so you can see where your traffic is coming. And I'm also going to show you a really cool feature that you can add, so that if you want to track both the contact form submissions, so when somebody fills out the contact form and presses send, if it goes through successfully, we can track that within Google Analytics, and you can track that back to the source to see which sources are producing, you know, the most leads, whether it's Google, organic, Facebook, paid advertising on Facebook or Google. So that's really useful. And you can do the same exact thing with the phone number. We can track it when we can't track it when somebody calls unless we swap this out with a forwarding number. But what we can do, if somebody clicks it on mobile, we can track that as an event within Google Analytics. And once again, it's going to show us how many leads we're getting. So let me exit out of this responsive widget here, and we'll get started on that. In our browser, we want to go to google.com/analytics or analytics.google.com, and either one of those URLs should work for you. I have that open in a new tab over here, and you want to go to the admin area, which can be accessed by this gears button. Basically, the analytics is broken down by account, so you're allowed 100 accounts. Right now I'm using 10, and you can group the accounts by business. So if you work for a client that has multiple websites, you want to have one account for them and put each website as a new property. So for this tutorial, I'm going to create a new account, and we are going to set it up. It takes literally about a minute or two to set up, and we just got to paste the code that they provide for us into our website header. So I'm going to call this just Elementor tutorial, and the website name, I usually just use the URL for the name. So let me just go over here and I'll copy this. This is the inner URL, so I'll just have to get rid of the /kitchen remodeling. So, and you know what, for the website name I don't include the HTTP, so I'm just going to remove that, and we'll put the website URL in here. You could select an industry category, and they have a few data charts that are going to compare your website against other websites in the specific industry that you choose, but for the purposes of this I'm not going to worry about it. And we pick our reporting time zone, so I'm going to go for Eastern time, since this website is based in New Jersey. And you can leave all of these checked. So that's all you need to fill out to get this going, and we just click the Get Tracking ID button. And once we accept the terms of service, they should provide us our code. Yeah, so here's your tracking ID. In some cases, if you install a plugin on WordPress to do Google Analytics, you can sometimes just put in this tracking ID, but for our case we're just going to use the full code. So this is the code that we need, and all we got to do is copy and paste this into our header, and we can do this through a plugin called, I think it's Insert Header and Footer, or Insert Header and Headers and Footers, one or the other. So let's go to the plugins section to search for that. And I want to add a new plugin. I don't want to search for the installed plugins, which was the box I just clicked before. So let's search for Insert Header and Footer. And it should be, I'm assuming it'll be one of the first ones to pop up. And here we go, 200,000 active installs. That has the most out of any on this page. So we will install this and activate it. And as you can see, we have, right now we have 4, and we can really delete the child theme configurator once the child theme is set up. I mean, they still have some options to edit if you want to continue to customize it, but if you're good to go, you can actually delete this plugin. So we're doing this website with 4 plugins. So let's go to the Insert Headers and Footers settings, where we can paste our code. So they just give you two boxes here, one that goes into the HTML header and one that goes in the footer area. So we're just going to paste it into the header at the top of the page. And what I normally like to do is, you know, when you build the website out, you may end up pasting more code into this. So I like to add a comment just to signify what this piece of code is. So I'll just type in Google Analytics. And an HTML comment, as you can see here, it's side caret, exclamation point, dash dash. That's what starts the comment, and to end the comment it's dash dash in the opposite direction, side caret. So that is that's all we're going to need, and then once we save this we can verify it. It's not going to happen immediately, but within the next, say, 12 hours you should see that this status is going to pop up that's saying it's receiving data, and once that happens you're good to go. And we can go into the, we'll take a look at the options here within Google Analytics to break down your website traffic. They give you a couple buttons over here. We have the real time, which that actually shows you who's on your website right now, which is a pretty cool feature. They'll show you the locations, the referrals, and sometimes you don't see all this information right away, and it eventually gets added to your data. But if you have a lot of website traffic, this is useful. You know, if you're just starting out, you're probably not going to catch the times where people are on your website, but it's definitely useful once you start to build up some traffic. And then we have the audience. So this gives you information about the type of person on your website, their location, the technology that they're using. So we could see in the demographics, you can go to age and gender, and I think this is just assumed based on their behavior, because unlike Facebook, you know, people don't always have a profile online, you know, with their web browser. And the same thing with the interests. You know, Facebook is a little bit better for demographics and interests. You can find the location, so you can go city by city, and they provide a map here once you click on it, and you can see, you can go into the country, check out state by state, and if you go to the behavior, you can see new visitors versus returning. The technology, you can check out which browsers people are using, the operating system, and also the network, you know, whether it's Comcast, Verizon, or some other service provider. They break that down. An important one is mobile. You could see the breakdown of mobile versus tablet and desktop, and also the different devices that people are using. And what I think is probably the most important is the acquisition. This is where you find out the sources of traffic. So the big one you want to go to is acquisition, all traffic, and then source medium. And this is going to show you Google organic, you know, if you get Yahoo organic, Bing organic, Facebook referrals, referrals from Yelp. So it's going to show you all the different websites that are providing traffic. And then also they have what's called direct traffic. That gets lumped into links that aren't tracked. So it could be somebody just typing in the URL into the browser. Sometimes I believe, you know, links and emails might get tracked that way if they're not marked properly. This is where you're going to tell where you're getting your traffic. And then, as I mentioned with the events, you can track conversions and goals over here. I'm gonna show you how to do that in a couple of minutes here. Like I said, the important thing you want to look at is the goal, obviously goal completions, how many goals you're completing, and the conversion rate. So you might notice that Google organic is converting at, say, 10 or 15%, but you know, Facebook might be converting at 5%, or those numbers could be flipped depending on the type of business that, you know, we're looking at here. So you really can get a sense of what your best traffic sources are, and double down on that, and potentially, you know, do advertising. If Google Organic is doing well, you might want to do advertising with Google AdWords. But if Facebook is doing better, you're probably going to want to look into Facebook advertising. So if you do get into advertising, they have a section here under either AdWords, so you can connect your AdWords account, and they'll show your data within analytics from the AdWords traffic, broken down to the campaign. You can see the searches that people are typing in, and when people are logged into Google, they don't provide that information from organic search. But when you pay for it, they do give you the search phrases that people are using. So paid traffic is a little bit more useful in that way, that you can really break down and see what people are searching for. They don't give you that much information with free traffic. They used to years ago, but over the years they've developed it, and they've hidden that, especially once they've adopted the HTTPS, you know, secure protocol, so people's searches are encrypted, and that's why you don't get that information. And the last section, we do have the conversion section, which if you don't have goals, then you're not going to be in here. But the other one that's important is behavior. This is how people interact with your website. So it shows you the pages that people go to, your top pages, how long people spend on the page, the bounce rate, that's people that land on your website and then just exit after one page. They don't go to a second page. There's a lot of interesting takeaways that you can gather once you start to build pages on your website. And this area, likewise, for a small business, that only has maybe like 5 to 10 pages. this section is not going to be as useful because it's pretty obvious to, on small businesses websites, the home page and the about page are usually the top two, and then the services page might be up there as well. If you have a blog that has, you're posting every single day, and at the end of the year you have 300 posts, you're going to gather a ton of information from this section. So let's take a look at how we can implement this conversion tracking with the phone number clicks and the contact form submissions. I have the code that you need to do this on my website, so let me copy it and I'll explain what's happening here. The first thing we want to do is we want to go back to our contact form. And I believe I mentioned this before, but we're using this additional settings page now, and they show you the options that you have available at the Contact Form 7 website. So they have a few other options: demo mode, accept as validation, flamingo settings, I don't know what that is, suppressing message storage, but what we're going to use is this JavaScript code here. So they have two lines that you can use: on sent OK and on submit. So submit is just when somebody presses the submit button. On sent OK, it means that the message was actually emailed successfully. So we're going to use this on sent OK line. The issue is we want to run two lines of code. We want to run this alert that's going to notify the user within the browser that the message was sent successfully. But then we also want to add a line of code to track it as an event within Google Analytics. So the way that we're going to get around this is by using a function call. So we're going to call a function called contact form send success, which is a custom function that we're creating. And we just need to include this function on somewhere on the page, include this JavaScript code. So we're going to use the same plugin that we just installed, insert headers and footers, to do that. So let's save this and go back to the settings page for the headers and footers, and let me go back to my website and I'll copy and paste this code. As you can see on here, let me go over here since it's styled. This is our function. We have this contact form send success. The first line of code is going to be our Google Analytics code, and that's a GA function. That's the function GA, which is included within Google Analytics, and I'll show you that in a second. And then our second line is this alert line, where we'll alert the user with the message, your message was successfully sent, we will get in touch with you soon. So let me go to this other tab here that shows the GA function, and this is how you do event tracking. So they have this GA function, and you have a few different arguments that you can use here. The first two notify Google that you want to track this as an event within Google Analytics, and then you can specify the category, the event action, the event label, the value, if you have any of them. So the example they give is a video click. If you have a button on your website that's going to play a video, you can track that as an event to see how many people are clicking on it. And they use the event category videos, they use the event action play, and the event label is fall campaign. So that's one way that you can organize this. And in our case, what we're doing is we have the send event, and we're going to call it contact form submit, and the event action is sent. So I just made those up. You can do whatever you want if you want to customize it yourself. And the other line of code is very similar. We're using the same GA function to do the phone call tracking. So we have a send event, but for this one, the category is phone number click, and the action is click to call, which once again, I made that up. You can customize that if you want to change it. But the way that we target this is using the jQuery JavaScript library, which makes it easy to run a function when somebody clicks an element. So we target the element that has the class, which is this dot character that lets us know that that's a class in HTML. Any elements that have the class phone number. So if we look back to our header area, this is why I used HTML within the widget, and I assigned the class phone number. So that's what tells Google Analytics to track whenever somebody clicks that phone number. So those are the two ways that we're going to track these events. So I'm going to save it and take a look to see if this is working within Google Analytics. Let's check out the real-time section within the analytics, and we will do a split screen here. So we'll be able to see if this is working. So I'm going to open up another page here, go to the contact page, and hopefully we'll be able to see that we have an active user on the screen. And there it is. You can see we popped up one active user. The active page is ele/contact, so that's the page we're on. So let's go to the events part of real time, and we will test this event. So the first one is the phone number click. If we pretend that this is a mobile device and we click this number, this is going to mimic a user tapping the number on a mobile phone. So we should hopefully see an event pop up here. And it looks like it's coming. I see this little spike here. And there we go. We have our event category, phone number click, click to call. Once this registers within the data, you can go to the acquisition, all traffic, source medium, and you can do the you can check which ones are registering the events. And I think I forgot to mention, let me test the other event here, but I forgot to mention how to set up a goal linked to an event. So we'll do that right after I try the form here. So I'll put in my name, email. I'm just going to do a test email. test123@gmail.com. And I don't really care about this. I'm going to type in some gibberish nonsense, and then we'll just click the send button. So just to review, we have the 2 lines of code. We should get the alert, and it should track the event. So let's click the send button, and here's our alert. Your message was successfully sent, and that means we should hopefully see the event pop up over here in analytics. And there's our spike. Within a few seconds, we'll have the event, contact form submit. So that is pretty cool, isn't it? It's a great way to see which sources of traffic are generating business for you. So the last step here is creating the goals. So let me go back to the admin. And if we go to the right column here, you can see we have our goals section. So we want to create a new goal that's linked to an event. So really they allow you to create goals for anything you want. A goal can be a page view for a specific page. Let's see the other options they give you. So it could be a destination on a certain page, duration, so if somebody spends more than 5 minutes. But what we're going to use is an event. So I got to specify the name of this. So I'll do contact form submissions. And this event, we can set it to equal the category that we want, or the action. Either one's going to work. So we're going to do event category. I actually forget what I used here. Let me go back to our code. And I just want to copy and paste it just to make sure there's no errors. So it's contact form submit. So once we have the category in there, we can verify the goal, which at this point there's no data. But say for instance that you've been using this website for 2 or 3 weeks, people have submitted the contact form. It's going to tell you right here whether or not that goal was completed X number of times in that time period. So that's another way to track whether or not you're setting up the goal correctly. But for us, we're just going to save it. And I would do the same exact thing to create a goal for the phone number clicks. And so you just paste it in right here, phone number click as the category, save the goal, and then when you're in the section where you're checking out your sources, and by the way, you can also just search for here. So if I want to go to the sources, I just type in source, and I can easily navigate to acquisition, all traffic, source medium. And over here, you'll have your goal completions. So you can either check your goal completions individually, or you can select all goals. So if you want to see both phone number clicks and contact form submissions combined, just check out all your goals and you can match it back to the source and the medium. So there you have it, everyone. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. As I've said a few times throughout this video, You can download all of the resources from my website. Go to websiteprofitcourse.com/biz, B-I-Z, and that's going to take you to the tutorial for this where you can get everything to put together this website. If you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment below. I'll try to answer as many as I can. I'd also love to hear if you add a cool feature to this, that I didn't think of, because that's how we all learn. I mean, you just find interesting things on websites that you're browsing, and you say to yourself, hey, I wonder if I can add that with WordPress. And the beauty of WordPress is that a lot of the times you're going to have a plugin to add something, but as you've seen throughout this video, if you start to understand a little bit of code, you can do a lot of customization. If you don't have a domain or hosting set up and you'd like to do that, please visit HostGator.com and you can use my coupon code 1WPHosting to get your first month for 1 cent. That's the first step to get going online, and it could be the start of an online business, an online e-commerce website, or potentially you doing this as a service, or even you building your own themes. So there's a lot of avenues that you can generate money from WordPress if you have a little bit of creativity and some drive. Thanks again, everyone. I really enjoyed doing this video, and if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Have a great day and create your website today.